Hello, hello. Here's Agi again with hopefully some pearls of wisdom for you. Let's talk about how to reverse the aging process and stay healthy always. I would recommend that you get out a pen and some paper and start taking notes, because I'm going to be talking about some names and some sources that you want to take and go to the internet and verify for yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it. You just want to verify. And also, there's going to be a lot of background for this, medical research possibly. And also, this background I'm going to be talking about is somewhat necessary. So bear with me on this one in the beginning, because this is hard to believe that it can be done. So you're going to need that background to understand and see the sources that makes this possible to actually reverse the aging process. And this is going to be a little bit lengthy, not that bad, but a little bit lengthy. So just take your time, and it's going to be worth it for you. It just might be the most important video, or one of them, that you will ever see. So sit back, put your feet up, put your paper on your lap, and a pen ready to go, because here we go. But first of all, I'm going to say that I'm not a doctor. I am not prescribing any of the remedies I will be talking about and mentioning, and none of the information should be construed as medical advice. We know that specific health substances can give different effects for different people, all depending on their medical and psychological composition. As with medical conditions, you should do your own research, as I have, and also consult a medical professional. That does not necessarily mean a doctor. It could be a chiropractor, a nutritionist, naturopathic doctor. I prefer those, a little more rounded, or anybody that you can determine is a medical professional. Nurses are a very good source. So that's up to you. What I'm talking about here is from my own experience and research, and I have gleaned from medical journals like New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, videos and books written by health professionals, and research papers. So it comes from a source. It's not something that I cooked up, except for my own experience. That I will convey to you, and that is my source. So let's get to it. I have a question. Is immortality possible? Let's wait on that question. By the time I'm done, I want you to answer it for yourself. Well, science says that it is theoretically possible, and it actually can be fairly simple. Did you know that in 2009, there were 3 doctors who got the Nobel Prize for discovering an enzyme that reverses the aging process? And nobody told you. So unless you step in front of a bus doing 60 miles an hour, or fall off a rock, breaking your neck and die that way, technically we could live forever. But we can understand what will happen to pension programs, Social Security, and other retirement programs, if not to speak of overpopulation. Yeah, if we we understand that it would somewhat be disturbing to society. And that is the reason why they did not tell you. The thing about reversing the aging process is that when you start doing that, the age-related diseases go away. And that is the other reason why they didn't tell you. You see, it's all about the money. We do not have a healthcare system. We have a for-profit disease management system. When we start looking into this, it becomes obvious that mankind as a whole actually have a capacity for extremely old age. And here are some examples. In the 1930s, National Geographic went to South America and visited a tribe in the Andes, living right above Lake Titicaca. This tribe have had very little, if any, contact with the outside world before. Many of their people were 130 to 140 years old, and some older than that. Now, there are two big reasons for that. The water they drank came out from underneath the glacier, and they drank this glacier milk full of minerals. And the other reason, the people in that village, they knew they could live forever. So all of them seemed to die from accidents, wild animals, or disease. And whenever somebody died, it was a surprise to everybody. They did not expect that. And then there was this Chinese university professor that came to New York in a cultural exchange program in the 1950s. He went out for dinner some evening with the colleagues, and he got food poisoning and died. He ended up in the morgue, like they all do when they die. And they called the ambassador and said, there's something wrong with this guy's papers. His passport showed that he is 154 years old. That can't be right, is it? And the ambassador told them, yes, he is. So they asked him again, how can that be? The ambassador told them, the professor only ate Chinese herbs and berries, and he knew he could never die. Back then, that didn't make any sense. But now, with the science advanced to where we can understand these things now, it makes perfect sense. It is the effect of Chinese herbs and a new medical science coming online called epigenetics. And I will talk about that later. And then I found Li Xingyuan. He was a Chinese herbalist and a martial art instructor for the Chinese army, and he died from an accident at the age of 256, and the government verified his age on several occasions. And in the 1930s, the New York Times, they wrote an article about him, and they showed official letters by the government verifying his age. And I have studied him, and I found out how he lived, his thought patterns, and how he conducted himself and what he ate. And I'm trying to do, as much as I can, some of the same thing as he's doing. And it seems to be working for me. I also found many other people, really old people. There was a Falun Gong teacher in Japan, Mitsu Taira. That is Mitsu Taira. He died at 242 years of age. And there was a Chinese written records of a man named Yong Tai. He was in, oh gosh, I don't speak Chinese, but I'm going to give it a shot. Fujian province in China. He was born in 881 AD under the Song dynasty, and he died in Taiding, in the time of the Yuan dynasty in 1325 AD. Now that makes him 444 years old. And these are also written records that shows up in a library as well as in government annals. I also found an Ethiopian farmer that died at 160, and the government verified his age. The Hansa people in Mongolia are regularly reaching an age of 120 to 140, and some much more than that. And of course, this is never spoken of in the West because it will interfere with the profit machine. If people knew how to do these things like these people did, it would upset our society, wouldn't it? Here in the West, it is difficult to do what these people did and get the effects like they did because of what we are told is food. You know, the pretend food that you buy at the grocery store, full of neurotoxins and poisons. And also because of the way we are taught to think. Very few of us think totally on our own. Obviously, these people did not live or eat or think like we do in the West. Their mind was solid in the understanding of what they were, what is possible, and their belief in that they could never die. If you were to start doing and thinking and eating like these people, you should be able to get some of the same effects, like increasing your lifespan drastically, having a sounder mind, and becoming healthier and staying healthier. Now, if that is important to you, you just might want to start doing some of this that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. When we are talking about reversing the aging process, we are nipping at the heels of immortality, aren't we? So the question is that possible? Or would we even want it? Science is telling us that yes, this is possible. Theoretically possible. But immortality is not for everybody. It could get boring. Can't you imagine going to work and work for 275,000 years? Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What if you could stay with a young thinking mind and a vital and strong body, healthy body, into old age, 120 years old, 130, 160, 200 years of age, maybe 300, or any age that you decide. But it should be up to you to decide when you want to leave this place and start a new life. Think about that. See, I am kind of a living example of this in a small way. I am deep into my 74th year of age, and I see distinct differences in the way I look, feel, and the energy I have compared to 4 years ago when I started doing what these old people did. And we're going to get deeply into this shortly. Here is 2 hints for you. The Center for Disease Control in the US, the CDC, have recently, within the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, they declared to have a new disease for us. The disease is called aging. Now, another reason is there are many scientists, newspapers, and magazines, and researchers. They are writing articles using the term the first person to live to 200 years of age is alive today. I think Time magazine had it on the front page a few years back. Google it and you'll find it. So if these scientists say that, we should listen, shouldn't we? And then there is the Nobel Prize, which was given to 3 doctors in 2009 for the discovery of an enzyme called telomerase. I'm gonna spell that for you. Telomerase. And this telomerase that reverses the aging process. That is why they got the Nobel Prize. Google it and you'll find out, or better yet, go to the Nobel Committee's website. Go to 2009, scroll down into medical submissions and read the papers. You're gonna like it. And what you read in there, that was in 2009. That is over 10 years ago, and it got much perfection to the science that they talking about back there. It has perfected a lot. Somewhere in those papers written by these 3 doctors, it is stated that if we had enough of this enzyme, telomerase, in the body, there is no reason why anybody would die from old age anymore. That is powerful. You see, science has known for over 10 years what causes aging and actual eventual death. There are many contributing factors for death, but the death caused by aging has one cause. Now, there are contributing factors to that one cause also, but the cause is the one thing that does the aging. Hardly anybody talks about that. It is kind of like there is almost like a, call it a code of silence around it. Once in a while, we hear cutting-edge naturopathic doctors or renegade MDs talk about it, but it is rare. Science knows what causes aging, and they know how to correct it, but nobody tells us. Now I do. The reason for aging is the shortening of the telomeres at the end of the chromosomes inside your cells of the body. Every time a cell replicates itself, the telomeres get a little bit shorter and shorter and shorter every time. The telomeres are holding your genetic structure together inside every cell of your body. When the cells have replicated themselves so many times that the telomeres are getting so short at the end of the chromosome there, and they are no longer to hold the genetic code in the chromosomes together, and the end of the chromosomes start fraying, kind of like a shoelace if it loses that little hard tip at the end of it. And the cells are not able to replicate themselves anymore. And then you get stuck with old cells in the body, and you are starting to look older. You get older and older, and you die. Now that, in a nutshell, is death by aging. But there is a way to stop it and even reverse it. And I know you want to hear about that. We'll get to it. I am reversing my aging process. I cannot guarantee what it will do for you because that would be illegal. Some bureaucrat somewhere would jump in the middle of it and come and claim that I was practicing medicine. So That's not going to happen because I am not. I'm just telling you my research and what I am doing and what kind of effect I have. Amazingly, that is legal for now. I'm sure the politicians have some thoughts on that. There is one more thing I want to tell you. I have done a lot of research on this, and I have found that there are three main reasons that causes the telomeres to shorten, so we age. One of them is a nutritional deficiency. See, the body is a self-correcting machine, and it will heal and rebuild itself if it is given all the raw material it needs to do that. That is nutrition, vitamins, amino acids, proteins, collagen, that's good for the skin. Minerals, we need that for the bone and the whole body, including rare earth minerals that you never hear about. It is necessary to keep the body sound and healthy. You don't get much of those minerals and those nutrients in the food anymore because the food is totally depleted of pretty much all minerals. They knew that back in the 1930s because I have a Senate document on my computer somewhere saying that the soil is depleted of minerals, so we need supplement to keep us healthy. The second reason for aging is a genetic disorder. That is the shortening of the telomeres. That is that disorder. And that was designed into the genetic code, or better yet, taken out of the original genetic code by the people who designed the human body when they used some of their own substance to code us, but they took out some of it that they didn't want us to have. There's written records on that. Start reading the Sumerian tablets. And then there is a mental illness. And that mental illness is, religion. Now, wait a minute, don't run off yet. I'll probably be able to prove it to you. And then we have been brainwashed into believing that the official medical science is the only solution and truth. Also, we've been led to believe that everything the government tell us and the clergy tell us is truth. Not so. Let me dwell on the mental illness of religion for a while. I know this is not going to be popular for some, but just take it and swallow it and think on it. Remember, we live in a mind-created universe, as quantum physics is telling us. What you think, believe, and accept in your mind is what you will have in your life. That is conscious and subconscious. Everybody out there are totally convinced that we will grow old and we will die. We have accepted that, most of us, which is probably true sooner or later. But by the way we think, accept, believe, and eat, you should be able to control when. Think on that one. You should be able to control when you should leave and get out of here. So is religion a mental illness? Think about this. It may be, and here's why. If you keep eating poisoned food every day of your life, it will eventually kill you. If you keep believing something that will kill you, it will kill you. Religion tells us we will grow old and we will die. And we will go to a better place afterwards. You know, heaven. Unless, of course, we talk ourselves into that we're going to go to this other place, you know, the one down in the basement next to the furnace. Think on that. That's mind created too. And you're doing it to yourself. So when we grow old, we get sick. We start hurting everywhere. And that better place the religion talk about, that starts looking better and better and better, starts looking pretty good. We may start longing for that better place because life is full of pain and it's not fun anymore. By doing that, we start getting drawn towards that better place. And there we are, aging, because that is the natural process for us to go to that better place. And then we die. Now, if you think, no, the mind is not that powerful, consider this. In 1981, a guy named Morris Goodman, he was in a plane crash. The doctors did not, they didn't think he was going to live because he had broken his back above his chest. He severed the central spinal cord, punctured his diaphragm, and he was just about dead. He could only breathe by a ventilator. He could not move any part of his body. This man understood the power of the mind, and in a very short time, by the way of his thinking, he regenerated his diaphragm so he could breathe on his own. Over the next few months, he regenerated his spinal cord so he could move his limbs. The doctors were dumbfounded. They'd never seen anything like that before. And within a few months, he was up and walking, totally recovered. Science cannot, or normal science cannot explain that. You see, that is the power of the mind. We think ourselves healthy. We think ourselves sick. And we think ourselves dead. There's nothing the mind cannot do if you do it right and you never give up on it. Now, I had to give you this background so you will better understand the problem before I cover the solution. And we're going to do that now. See, otherwise, you probably would not believe me. But I think you have enough background now to be able to better accept what I'm going to tell you next. There are 3 ways we can go about reversing the aging process. One, get a pharmaceutical that is said to help the body make its own enzyme, the telomeres, in the body. It will cost you about $400 to $600 per month. And this pharmaceutical is called TA-65. That is TA-65. You'll find it on the internet. Amazon has it. Many different places have it. I think though, before you go buy it there, look at the testimonies. I did that, and I find that some of the testimonies say that, hey, it worked great for me. Other testimonies say it didn't do nothing for me. So evaluate that by yourself. Don't take my word for anything here. Research it, do your own research. Now, I do it the cheap way. And I do it as the 256-year-old man was doing it. by using the natural herbal method together with inviting my mind in on the journey and exercise and things like that I'm going to mention. And it has the same or even better effect. There is much medical research showing the herbal method is just as effective as the pharmaceutical method, or even better. You can read more about this and how to do this in this book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. I want to say that one more time for you guys that out there that listened and have a piece of paper and a pen there. Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. Now, since we live in a mind-created universe, which quantum mechanics has proven that we do, we can take advantage of the principles of the new form of science called epigenetics. Now, that is the teachings on how we can change the genetic makeup of our body, our health condition, and our psyche by the way we think and the environment that we subject ourselves to. By applying epigenetics, we can turn off the bad genetic markers. If you have the cancer gene, you can turn that off. Now that's phenomenal. And we can then also turn on the good genetic markers. Think about that. You should research it more. You can read more about this also in the book I just mentioned, Spiritual Science and Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. And also how to organize the mind and manage the mind to make it work for you. I'll spell out in that book also, so you understand why it works and how the mind can actually do this in the body. Actually, that book will teach you how to manage and use your mind in ways that you normally would think would be impossible. There is one herb that is more important than any other herb when it comes to reversing the aging process. And that is one of the herbs that the 256-year-old man took in large doses. And that is the herb Astragalus. Astragalus. If you take it in large doses, it'll have phenomenal effects. There is medical research showing that it is just as effective or better than TA65 to stop the shortening of the telomeres and even lengthening them. So your cells are able to replicate themselves and you will have new cells and not just get bogged down with all the old cells that clogs the lymph system and make you age, make you look older and eventually die. Now, old cells does not have the electric charge in picovolts that will help them avoid the attacks of virus, bacteria, fungus, and other things that gets into us from different places. And it'll help the cells not to be stressed so much. The older the cells, the easier it is to get stressed and get infected and get sick. There is one more thing that is very important, and that is that you need to keep your lymph system clean. The lymph system washes out the dead cells and the pollutants from the body. There are herbs that can help you do that, and you can research it. There's all kinds of stuff over the internet that you will find. But there is one thing that is more effective than anything, and it's free. And that's the one I'm doing. And that is jumping on a trampoline. Or if you do not have one, you can jump in place on the floor until you get one. You see, it will have pretty close the same effect, but it is a little easier on the trampoline because you do not have to fight the gravity so much. You have a little help going up. Jumping also helps to keep the cell walls strong, and that is important. The 256-year-old man, he ate astragalus. So astragalus is the most important thing, and I buy it by the pound. It cost me about $14, $15 per pound, and that lasts me pretty close to a month, because I take a heaping teaspoon in the morning, I take a heaping teaspoon in the evening, and often I take one in the middle of the day, and I mix it with water. But you can mix it with anything you want to help the taste a little bit, because it really has no taste at all. It's kind of boring to eat or drink. I also take astragalus with black pepper or a black pepper extract. If you take it with a black pepper extract or pepper, it will magnify the effect of the astragalus many times. That is also proven in medical research. I have researched herbal companies, and I pretty much found one that I stay with. And that is the one that I'm getting everything that I usually buy for herbals, which is, I'm going to go into that more here because there's quite a few of them. And that is pipingrock.com. Pipingrock.com. I have found them to have the best price and the best quality because they're so big. They buy it by the ton and then they break it up into different bottles. So they get the best prices. And if you want to, you can use my discount code, and you can get even a 10% discount on the retail price. So if you still got your pen out, write that discount code down and just use it. It is AAK6NP. For those of you that understand the phonetic alphabet, that is Alpha, Alpha, Kilo, the number 6, and November, Papa. And then there's another herb I take, as the 256-year-old man also did. And that is called the Immortality Herb in China. And that is the Jiagolin Herb. And I know you don't speak Chinese, so I'm going to spell that one for you. That is Jiagolin herb. Now, there's a doctor who has done an awful lot of research on that herb, and he's written several books on it. And that doctor's name, I'll give you. You can find his books everywhere. They're on Amazon and in many different places. That is worth reading because you can see the phenomenal health effects that that one has. And that doctor's name is Dr. Here we go again. Jiagolin Liu. Yeah, I know. I got to spell that one too. Jialiu, last name Liu. IU. First of all, it helps with the telomeres and also have many health-giving effects. It decreases cholesterol by improving the liver's ability to send sugar and carbohydrates to the muscles for conversion to energy instead of turning it to sugar and triglycerides, which is stored in the body as fat. And some of you can relate to that one. Now, the Jiagolin herb eats cholesterol. And more than anything, it gives you real energy. Plus, it helps to stop the shortenings of the telomeres. You know, there's a reason why they call it the Immortality Herb in China. Think on that. Now, at my age, I know I am the healthiest person I know. I'm at it 12 to 16 hours a day, and I have more energy than anybody I know. And that is also why I take some other stuff. And here are some of the things that the 256-year-old man ate, and I'm trying to do as much of as I can. And it was not stated how much he took of each, but it was just said that he did. And I'm just kind of shooting from the hip on that one. I'm just making sure I take enough. And you can't OD on this as far as I know. So I'm not worried about that. If I take too much, you just wash it out and it's kind of worthless. But there is an optimum amount, but that also varies in the morning or after a meal. They could be also varying in the amount of energy that you put out. And there's a lot of things going into that. So I just take enough. Here's a list of those things that I take and also that Li Xing Yuan took. I take Korean ginseng, or actually Li Xing Yuan, it didn't say that. It said wild ginseng. But I can't find that all the time, so I'm just taking Korean ginseng. And the thing about Korean ginseng is that it is not native to Korea. Korean ginseng actually comes from China. So I am hoping that actually has the same origin, and that's why I'm doing that. I think many of you will have an idea of what the health benefits of ginseng are. I read in the medical reports that it is an antioxidant, can lower blood pressure, strengthen the heart muscle, boost immune system, increase libido, sharpens brain functions, and restore balance in the body. And there's a list of many other things. I also take Ling Shi. I'll spell that one. LINGZI. And I take He Shou Vu. I take Gotu Kola. And I eat goji berries. I buy that by the pound wherever I can get it and snack on it through the day. The goji berries, they're okay with taste. They're kind of almost tasteless, but they really do good stuff for you. And I take some things also that was not listed on the things that the 256-year-old man ate, and I just added it to my list. I take cayenne pepper. I take that to keep the blood clean and to prevent the arteries from clogging. I take selenium. It is essential to keep the heart muscle strong. And also copper. That is important for the heart muscle. I take garlic capsules, and most every day, except for days maybe when there is a lot of garlic in the food, because then I may back off on the capsules, because you know, you don't want to keep some of your friends, so you don't want to overdo that. But you can't OD on garlic if your stomach can handle it. I take turmeric. It helps clean the lymph system, neutralizes free radicals, and it is a phenomenal disease fighter. That is probably why there is hardly any cancer in India outside of the big cities, because they have fast food joints in big cities, and they are kind of adapting the Western style of living in the cities. And you know, that is fatal, so they get it too. I also take chelated copper, or liquid ionic copper. Liquid ionic copper is better. It's a lot more expensive, but it is better. And this is for you guys out there and gals out there that have gray hair or white hair. Having actually gray and white hair is dangerous, because it is an indication. Well, let me back that up. Gray hair is a function of copper deficiency and an acidic body with a pH below 7. You alkalize your body and take enough copper, and you just might get your hair color back. I try to keep my pH of the body up between 7 and 8. I aim for 8, don't make it all the time, but I try. And you do that with natural foods, a lot of green leafy food, or other things that will alkalize the body. Baking soda is wonderful for it. It'll do it. Within minutes, you will start, because the water is absorbed fairly quickly into the body if you have good water. So then you can get the alkalinity effect. Now, I mentioned something about gray and white hair that is dangerous. And it actually is, according to Dr. Wallach. And I believe him because he has phenomenal credibility in the medical industry. And he says that for those that have gray and white hair, it is danger because it is an indication of the cells are weakened in muscle. And the heart is a muscle. He also mentioned in one of his videos or lectures that most people that have white hair, they die from cardiomyopathy, which is when the heart ruptures because of a weak muscle. So research that one, and you're gonna find some amazing things. I also take sulfur in the form of MSM 1500. We do not get sulfur in the food anymore unless we live in Hawaii and Iceland. Why would that be? Well, Hawaii and Iceland are volcanic islands. And if you eat the local food, you will have a lot of sulfur in the soil because of the volcanic soil. And this is probably the reason why people in Iceland hardly ever get sick. Another thing I started doing about 2 weeks ago, just for fun, more or less. Listen, ladies, you're going to like this one. I heard that it is especially good for your skin. You know, those crow's feet that some of you might have, not all of you. This take away wrinkles. And it is this one here. It's called Collagen Placenta Cream. Okay, let me see here. There it is. It's got collagen in it, and it rebuilds the structure of the skin cells. And crow's feet are known to go away. And yeah, I got a few too. So I'm gonna try it and see what happens, just for the fun of it. And I also get that at Piping Rock. It's really cheap, costs about $5, and it lasts you probably about 3 weeks, shorter than forever, because you don't use much, it'll last forever, almost. So think about that. There is one more thing that I take, and I consider very important. I take Acea, and let me see. Here it is. Here's the bottle. Acea has the redox molecule in it. Research that, and you're going to find out the phenomenal health effects you can have. Go to YouTube and contact me, and I will let you know where you can find it, and also how you can get a pretty decent deal on it, and also a little more about what it really can do for you. It can give you more energy and rebuild the body probably faster than most things I can think of. Also, another thing that I know Acea have, they have a little tube with a gel in it that does phenomenal things. Let me give you an example. About a year ago, I was putting logs into the fireplace here, and I held on to the log and I touched my finger to one of the steel cradles, the bars in there that you put the logs in, and I could hear the skin getting cinched, just like that. And I looked at it, and there was a burn mark about that long, about that wide, and it hurt. I went and put that salve on it, put a bandage on it. Next day, I changed the bandage and I kept it on. I think it was about 2 days or so. I could not see the burn mark. And that's phenomenal. It rebuilds skin tissue. It can help regrow hair. It can do a lot of things. So think on that. Just contact me on this one and I can show you how you can get a hold of it. And then the last thing I want to mention is what I will never stop taking, because the body needs it to rebuild itself. That is Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Youngevity. It is a multivitamin and mineral and trace mineral complex. It has about 90 different nutrients and minerals in it. It looks like this. And I take 2 scoops of that every day in the morning, 2 scoops in the evening, and it lasts about a month. That particular thing like there, I researched this an awful lot, and I find that that alone will give the body everything it needs to rebuild itself. So my theorizing on this is that together with Astragalus in the large doses will maintain the body healthy, as well as stop the degeneration of the telomeres and maintain your age, your physiological age. All the rest I am doing additionally because I want to, because there's something to say about the shotgun effect. I want to make sure I have enough. So this here is put out by Dr. Wallach. You remember him? Dead Doctors Don't Lie. He put out that cassette tape 20 some years ago. I remember bringing him into Omaha to speak. I went to the airport and picked him up, and he had a phenomenal lecture, educated a lot of people. And he is the only doctor that has ever sued the AMA and say, hey, I'm able to cure cancer and I can prove it. He won, and he's the only one that can claim that he can actually cure disease. That's why I believe what he's talking about. There is also something I want to repeat, and that is selenium. Very important to take because it keeps the heart strong. I know I mentioned that before, but it was important enough to say it again. And one more thing, invite your mind in on your journey. Know in your heart, be convinced this will work for you. Start meditating, exercising. Now, I do the Tibetan rites and some other things that I have added to it. Start doing yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, or some of these practices that you have probably heard of, but you don't know much about. Research it. It will benefit you phenomenally. Also, this is a good one. Look up Center for Radiant Well-Being. The Center for Radiant Well-Being. Look them up on Facebook. And get involved with Nori and the crew she have there with her. They do some phenomenal classes. And being with her is not going to break you. You are going to do well doing that. And also see and participate and do some of the classes that we have put together in the Mastermind Connection on Patreon. The Mastermind Connection on Patreon. And also look us up on the internet, actually on YouTube and the internet, under broadcastteamalpha.com. We got a bunch of radio shows where we talk about these things and all kinds of other stuff that you are not supposed to know about. That is broadcastteamalpha.com. Now, also send us an email so you can be part of our mastermind group that we do on Sundays. Send that email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. The Mastermind Connection@gmail.com. I know this was a lot, and I hope you took notes, because this could be one of the most important videos that you have watched ever, providing, of course, you do anything with it. So subscribe to our channel on YouTube under Broadcast Team Alpha, and click the little bell next to it so you get notified every time that we get a new video out there, would you? So that's about all I have for you. So thank you for watching, and good luck on your journey. And stay in touch. See you in the next video.